We're live recording this right now. It is Thursday, January 29th, KarterKast college basketball show. I had to welcome on the man, the myth, the legend, Jordan Mann. J-Man takes on Twitter. Dude, it's so glad to see you, man.
I'm happy to be here, Karter. It's been a long time coming. Our Charlotte Hornets are cooking right now, by the way.
I had that as a surprise segment at the end. I mean, I almost want to start with that. I don't even care. It's a college basketball show. Charlotte sports are just coming around in a major way. Bryce Young's feeling it. They almost beat the Rams in the playoffs. Now the Hornets, they look like they're the best offense in the league at this point. They're healthy. Con Knipple is just the steal of the draft, even at 4. I mean, it's just unbelievable what's happening, man.
I know it's college basketball. It's a college basketball show, and I just hijacked it immediately talking about the Charlotte Hornets. But listen, we're not accustomed to winning, and we're winning recently. We're winning big. So I had to tee off with that. And obviously, I love the shirt choice. That Duke shirt is clean.
Brutal time in San Antonio, though. I try to forget that night.
Yeah, we're gonna have a good time on this show. So I'm happy to be back on here with you and talk some ball with you.
It's weird because, like, that night in San Antonio, I don't drink, so it's like, what do I do to drown my emotions? I think I ended up at a Buc-ee's and ate, like, 2 brisket sandwiches, just depressed in San Antonio.
I was almost drowned myself in the Riverwalk, so we had 2 different things. You went to a Buc-ee's, and I was contemplating drowning myself as I was walking to get more margaritas.
Oh my gosh, what an awful night that was, and the Uber's out. Just everything was a disaster. But anyhow, let's talk college ball. I want to start off with the NBA draft part of this, where these freshmen, they're all insane. You've seen it all over. If you're on Twitter right now, the talk of the town is these freshmen in college basketball. Kingston Fleming's 40 points, Keaton Wagler 40 points, AJ DeBanza 40 points over the past weekend. These dudes are insane. J-Man, I want to get your take here. Who should be the number 1 pick in this draft? There's arguments for Darren Peterson, but then with the injury stuff, AJ DeBanza, but we've seen him struggle in some bigger games at times. Cam Boozer is putting up the best production. It looks like he's a lock to be National Player of the Year, but, you know, there's some limited upside there maybe. And then Caleb Wilson has been awesome for Carolina. He's going to be the sole reason Hubert Davis keeps his job next year.
Yeah, it's a
lie I just handed you, so.
No, it's a lot you just handed me, but obviously and honestly, this is a loaded freshman class too. We saw it in college basketball a couple of nights ago with the Bands having 43. 2 other guys had 40 plus. Cam Boozer had like 31 and 9. It just The production's been awesome in college basketball, and it's been a fun conversation to talk about. Obviously, I love Cam. That's who I watch the most, being a Duke fan, and I would love for him to go number 1. But realistically, if I had to pick who I would go number 1, would probably be Darren Peterson, even with his injuries, because at the end of the day, Kyrie played 11 games for Duke, and he went number 1, and we've seen what he's done. But Darren Peterson being 6'6" with a handle that he has a point guard handle at the 2 guard position. He finishes well around the rim, and he's shooting 42% from 3, and he can score off the dribble. And DeBanza is really talented as well. Do not get me wrong. He doesn't have the best handle, and he loves the midi, as you know, and he's 31% from 3, which will be better at the next level. But he's 32% on catch and shoots, which kind of surprised me. It's that low. Though he shoots low from 3, I thought he'd probably be like 38, 39 from catch and shoot. So that kind of surprised me a little bit. But he has a great motor. Like, the reason that DeBanza is going to make it and be really good in the league is because his motor is through the roof. His competitiveness is number 1 worthy. I think you're fine if you pick any of those 3 as my cop-out answer. But I would go Darren Peterson because he looks like a true combo guard at the next level, even with the injury stuff.
Does that not worry you a little bit? Because, you know, you hear the stuff about him in high school where there's some healthy DNPs and everything, and it's just like, does that translate to the next level? Like, everyone's going to be making Kawhi jokes about him coming into the league.
Yeah, I mean, this is very valid, right? It's very valid that your best ability is durability and availability, whichever one that is. And he's had, you know, inconsistencies at Kansas with some injuries and some cramping, but recently he's kind of put it together and kind of string some good performances consecutively. So I definitely hear that. It's just when I see the true basketball talent, I'm like, Darren Peterson, I would draft you in a heartbeat. You just do so many things well. When you're healthy, I guess is the right thing, because even Joel Embiid, I know it's it's apples and oranges, what position and stuff, but as fun and dominant he can be in the NBA, we've been robbed of many games with him because he doesn't know how to land. And he's always hanged up and he has to roll at 7 foot after he dunks a basketball. So it's definitely frustrating in that regard. So I'm all for, people say Devance's their number one. I'm like, I hear you. I see it. He had 43 against Utah. I understand. Cam Boozer, I've watched. I understand. He is so dominant and so efficient in the game. And then Darren Peterson, as what he does with the ball in his hands, he's just at 6'6" too. I'm like, dang, this guy can play. All three guys are great. And then Caleb Wilson, you slid in at 4. He has upside. The way he dunks the basketball and his midi, his post fade is great at UNC, but there's still some question marks for me with him. But I would see why he'd go top 4, top 5.
Yeah, I'm on the AJ side just because of the size, but I'm not going to say I don't get the Darren Peterson thing. Before the Arizona game was kind of telling for me. Arizona and Texas Tech for me with AJ, because you just watch his game and sometimes it's a little too much tunnel vision, a little too much ISO. And is that the coach's fault, calling that out too much and, maybe not playing a more fluid offense and whatnot? Maybe, but also at times it's just, it really bothered me in the Arizona game to where his entire game plan was, I'm hoping to get fouled. That's what it felt like watching that game. And, yeah, is he going to get those calls at the next level? Sure, we see it with SGA and everything, and that's going to be great. But with Darren Peterson, man, his shot-making ability is something I've never seen. It's like Curry.
Yeah, no. I agree. He's the UConn game and even the Arizona game where he didn't have it, the Arizona game specifically where he didn't have it going and he just willed himself to get buckets or get to the free throw line. That's what I mean. He has the winning mentality, the motor, and I like him a lot with what he has, the chip on his shoulder that he plays with. And the UConn game was special too, where he almost single-handedly brought them back from dead against UConn. Yeah. And so BYU's going to be a tough out because of that when they're in March Madness, because they're going to get some teams' best punches. But when you have AJ Debanza, who is a great player but also has that winning mentality, it's going to be a tough out. And so if he goes number 1, I think it's a good decision as well. It's a fun conversation, and we won't know the true answer in 10 years. That's the best.
Yeah, exactly. The other point is, you mentioned Caleb Wilson briefly. I know I'm wearing the Duke shirt, both Duke guys and everything, but I think it's I don't want to say cute, but I think it's kind of ridiculous that we're throwing Caleb Wilson into number 1 conversations. He's an unbelievable player. I have so much respect for him because I think without him, without Hubert bringing him into this program, Hubert Davis doesn't have a job going into next year. And he feels like the only UNC player that plays with pride in the last 3 years of the Hubert Davis era, since Harrison Ingram maybe. And there's so much to like about his game, like you said, his motor and his ability inside and everything. But when the outside game is almost a zero, he can't be in these conversations.
Yeah, I'm pulling up his synergy right now. I mean, he shoots 31% on jump shots, 25% on catch and shoots, and they're 4 of 16. So it's very minimal. He's not getting a lot up, and that's a development in his game that needs to really improve going to the next level. He's good around the rim. That's all he does. 105 of his 141 makes are around the rim, and then you add a few of those makes are short jumpers, like the turnarounds right above the block, right outside the block. So he's really much 12 feet in, and his perimeter game needs to get better. But again, great motor, great athleticism, a pretty good defender around the rim for shot blocking with his length. He does get lost at times defensively. He's kind of been a guy that's been picked on, shockingly, for UNC defensive woes, as we'll talk about in this podcast. But you can see the athleticism, the quick burst he has on a rip through, and he'll punch it. That's what makes him top 5 worthy. But, yeah, I don't think he's nowhere close to being number 1 with the other 3 guys.
I want to talk about UNC a little bit more because they have the terrible West Coast trip, just somehow lose the Stanford game and then get, kind of blown out against Cal, for being honest. And then they come back, whoop up on a depleted Notre Dame team, and then get the big win in Charlottesville against Virginia. What's the ceiling of this UNC team? Because at some point, like, I kind of want to buy in on them a little bit, but then I'm also like, can I really trust this guard play going forward?
Well, Carter, I'm gonna have to spoil a segment. It's a team that I'm buying. Like I have that. Like
I had them written down in mine too.
So I'm buying stock in Carolina because as atrocious as they were on the West Coast, they were left to dead early at Virginia. They were down to, I think, like 16 points. It looked like Virginia was going to score 90 plus and UNC was going to lose by 20 plus at UVA. And they willed themselves back into the game, won the game, and that was with Henry Vassar having an off night, who was benched in the second half for Jaron Stevenson. And it just shows that the offense has not been the problem for UNC all year, especially in conference play. They're at near the top in every offensive category. It's been the defense, and they're slowly figuring some things out. Though it was a bad Notre Dame team, Notre Dame had 69 points against them, and then they really stopped UVA in their tracks during that comeback win. And most importantly, their guard play, their backcourt has been awful all year, just awful. And they have found their true point guard in Derek Dixon, who 3 straight starts, had 3 straight games in double figures, had 7 assists and 1 turnover at UVA. He's been fantastic. They finally have their PG1. And then, oh, by the way, here's Jaron Stevenson coming off the bench for 17 points in the second half while Henry Vassar has an off night. When you have a 3-headed monster in the front court like that, and now you're getting a true point guard play that can score and facilitate, this UNC team, their ceiling has risen a lot for me recently.
Yeah, because I don't know, probably during the West Coast trip or a little bit early into ACC play, I probably would have gone with Virginia. We'll talk about Louisville maybe a little bit later, but like I'd have probably gone with Virginia as the second best team in the ACC. I really think it's going to end up being Carolina mainly because of Derek Dixon. Like, it's funny because you feel like they had like almost the sunk cost fallacy with Kai and Evans. We're like, all right, well, we're paying him all this NIL money. We got to play him. We got to keep playing him, and we got to figure it out with Kai and Evans. Like, you just don't. Like, go back to the Kentucky game. Derek Dixon's the reason why you won that game. Derek Dixon is the true point guard and gets this team going and connects them and everything. Like, it felt so obvious at the time, and they kept trying to force the Kai and Evans issue. I mean, he's barely getting time at this point, and rightfully so. And look how much better Carolina's playing. Not to dog on Kai and Evans as much, but it's just matter of the fact. And I also, like, when we talk about college basketball now, I don't feel as bad dogging on dudes because they're getting paid handsomely now at this point. Like,
yeah, like, Kai and Evans getting paid like $1 million this year, and so
more than that.
Yeah, he can take his lumps that he's getting paid more than $1 million. And I won't, not to knock on him, but I am knocking on him that he was a team worst, like minus 14 in the UVA game, and he played 7 minutes. It's just, he was a pretty good guard in the Mountain West, right? That's where Colorado State plays, Mountain West. Yeah, and he's just not built for ACC caliber. And you just see every game he's overwhelmed. It doesn't matter who the ACC team is outside of Boston College. Like, he's just not built for an ACC type of team. And it's fine. They whiffed on that. But they are getting saved by Derek Dixon because, hey, at the end of the day, too, recruiting matters. Still recruiting high school kids matters. He's a freshman that came in. I know people love to be fascinated with the transfer portal. It's cool to grab guys in the portal. But at the end of the day, high school recruiting still matters. They get Derek Dixon to save the day, and he's been fantastic.
And I think that's where Carolina struggled with at times, where all these schools, even you're seeing it with Kentucky right now, where you snag these guys out of the portal, and when you're getting guys out of the portal, look, you have a little bit of intel on them. You're calling agents and coaches, being like, all right, tell me about this kid. What's the deal with him? But you don't actually get them in the building, meet them, understand. Okay, how does this guy respond with tough coaching and practices and stuff like that? At least with high school recruiting, you're getting to know a kid and really understand it. Yeah, is it still a bidding war with both sides of it? Sure, but you at least have a better understanding of the kid and everything. And I feel like the talent evaluation is almost easier out of high school than it is with the portal. And we've kind of seen that with Carolina, especially this year.
Yeah, you have. And it's just, that's what I love about college basketball is more the things change, things stay the same. And that's kind of like with coaching or recruiting high school kids. Yeah, you get all these portal guys. Look at everybody we landed in the portal. And Scheyer's done it at Duke. I know we're talking about UNC, but Scheyer took pride in retention with the roster, and then the freshmen that came in. They took 0 transfers this year, and you're seeing what's happening. They are still one of the better teams, which we'll talk about in college basketball, and they've had 0 transfers. And the transfers they took last year were the perfect role players for the team, so to go around their freshmen. And so I like that. I think it's a beautiful part of the game, and I'm happy that or not happy for UNC, but I'm happy to see a team like UNC whiff on a portal guy, and then your freshman who you recruited in high school is saving the day for you.
Yeah, I'm buying in on UNC too, but I don't want to do the same team. So let's stay in the state. I'm going with NC State. They've figured some things out as of recent. Now, have they played bottom of the barrel ACC teams that have made them look a little bit better? For sure. But sometimes that's the confidence you need going forward, and that's what I feel like Will Wade and this team needed. Now, they have a brutal stretch of the ACC coming up over the next 7-8 games. We're going to find out what this NC State team really is. But I feel like there is enough talent with this team where they can make some noise in March. Do I think they're going to go to a Final Four? Absolutely not. They don't have the front court to do it. I don't think the point guard play is necessarily fully there. Like, Copeland's a solid dude. Don't really love him at the point guard position. But I think they can make a run to the Sweet 16 when about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I think people would have been like, I don't think NC State even makes the tournament at this point. I think they can actually make some noise in March. So I'm buying the Wolfpack right now.
Yeah, I mean, their win at Clemson in overtime. Clemson's a very tough place to play. And for them to win at Clemson in overtime, too, was a massive win. And another good point or another good test for them to see where they're at is they play at SMU. I mean, they play Wake Forest on the road next, but then they play at SMU. If they can win those 2 games on the road, those are 2 tough places to play. Wake Forest has had a disappointing year, but they have Juke Harris, and Juke can light you up. And I just think that I agree with you. I think this NC State team is now kind of under the radar. They were a little too much above the radar, and they got exposed for it, and they got pushed back down. And they've kind of found themselves here recently to where they're lying in the weeds a little bit. And then Duke goes on the road at I want to say PNC, but I don't think it's called PNC.
Lenovo,
but,
yeah. I mean, that's for any Duke fan listening to this, that is the worst place on earth to play.
Yeah, it's the worst. And Duke has to go to NC State. And if they're continuing their hot streak, that's going to be a very hard – even if they were inconsistent, it's a hard place to win when NC State's 500. So it's going to be – I like that pick. It's going to be tough. And Will Wade's got the boys playing well. And I still kind of not there yet. I need to see them just round out a couple more victories, especially these 2 road games. But who they lose to at home? They lose a bad home game. Was it
Georgia Tech? I had Georgia Tech money line in that game too. Because the thing that pisses me off with this NC State team and what has made me feel better over the last couple of weeks is they're not playing as down to competition as they were. Because that's just what the MO of this team was. It was, okay, we're playing a good team. All right, we're going to shoot lights out. We're going to play hard. And then you see them play Georgia Tech. Dudes are giving up on defense. They actively quit on the court in that game. So
yep.
I understand where people's drawback is. I just want to buy because I think this is the lowest it gets for the NC State Wolfpack, and I'm going to go ahead and buy in. I want to ask you, I had this team written down, but I just couldn't get there for some reason. Louisville. You saw them lose by 31 to Duke. Yeah. People are down on them. Michael Brown, I don't know what the deal, like he's got the back injury going on and whatnot. He looked awful in his return, rusty and whatever you want to call it. They don't really have a front court. I wanted to buy it on this Louisville team, but I can't get there.
Carter, we are one in the same because I also had Louisville written down, and it was the buy at the lowest point.
Yep.
is why I did it. This is a stock that I think is okay, pretty good, and I think it tanked a little too much because of the overreaction to the Duke loss. Your best player, Michael Brown, went 1 of 13, the second game back from a back injury, and so he probably played timid. He looked like he was uncomfortable the whole game. You can say it was nerves. You can say, if you're biased, you could say that it's the second game back, he's rusty. I'll buy into that. Their downfall is their front court. Their front court is just bad. It's not bad, but it's very underwhelming when they play legit competition. Like, Frew is a good player, but when when you pull up to Cam Boozer, and you've done that twice now. You had 2 points and 4 fouls at home. You had 4 points at Duke. They're just not. They don't have the front court to give them a run. You're asking your back court to make 15 threes a game for you to stand a chance. And when they don't do that, you're on the verge of being blown out. With that being said, I am buying a little stock with them because they could beat SMU at home. Like their next 5 games, they're see what they're made of. SMU at home, Notre Dame at home, they should win. At Wake, and then NC State at home before they go semi-away game with BYU or with Baylor. And if they win these games and they go on a little winning streak before they play Carolina, it's like a 7-game winning streak. All of a sudden they're 21-6. It's like if they win 7 in a row, they beat UNC, they're 22-6. You have that conversation again about this Louisville team. Maybe they can make the Sweet 16, but right now, I'm worried about them to making the turn. Like they'll make the tournament, but it could be a potential first round upset if you're asking your guards to make 15 to 23s to keep you in games.
Yeah, because it was kind of like what we saw last year. Even though, this team is more talented than last year's team, and they were able to get by in a weaker ACC, but it's kind of the same problem. Like we saw what Ryan Kalkbrenner did to Louisville last year. Like Creighton absolutely dominated them, and when Louisville couldn't get hot from 3, we saw the demise of that team. If you're a Louisville fan, I think the way you look at it is you try to copy the blueprint kind of like the 23 Miami team with like Omier and Chris, all these dudes. But like even then, like Norchad Omier was awesome in that run. Can Frew I like Khalifa as a passer. I know the Egyptian magician. He's like Jokic. He was awesome at BYU and everything. But I mean, he can't stay on the court for more than 15 minutes a game, really.
Yeah, no, you're right. He can't. And then you still need a guy like that Miami team. They had Jordan Miller who did it all. He was 6'6", but he rebounded like he could be a 4. Like he was their 4-man sometimes, and he would be down there getting rebounds against other front court guys. And maybe they could have that with like Hadley, but you're asking a lot again with Javon Hadley and those type of guys to where they're kind of doing a little too much. But I love Ryan Conwell. Seeing him up close in Cameron, that dude is smooth as hell, and I'm a big fan of his game. And maybe him and Mikal, they get hot together. They got to get something out of Isaac McNeely, though. He's just been very underwhelming. He looks very uncomfortable being so far off ball. Where at Virginia, he was the guy last year. The ball was always in his hands. You knew he was going to give him at least 15. Now it's like, all right, you can kind of pencil him in going 2 for 7. And that's not something you want to pencil Isaac McNeely for. He's too good of a scorer, and he's got to find himself in this offense as we're now approaching February. For the last month of the season, if they get Virginia version of Isaac McNeely with the backcourt, they can maybe overcome a couple of their front court disadvantages, but you're kind of asking for a lot. I still am buying stock on them, though, because they're almost down and out now after that 30-point loss to Duke, to where I have to buy some stock on Louisville.
Yep, absolutely. Like I wanted to like be all in and go in on this Louisville team, but I'm just gonna buy a little bit, diversify the portfolio a little bit. Who's the team you're selling on most? I have 2 written down. I cheated a little bit. I want to hear the team you're selling the most, though.
Selling the most, I'm selling Purdue. Purdue is probably the most that I'm selling, and I'm probably selling a little bit later than some. They're on a 3-game losing streak as we're recording right now. And I kind of want to sell them now in terms of selling for winning the national championship, because they're great offensively. They're so fun. Braden Smith's awesome. But they're a pain to watch defensively. That's always seems to be like Purdue's downfall from afar. And in Big Ten play, they're 15th in efficient field goal percentage against, 16th in 2-point defense, and 14th in 3-point defense. They can't guard apart Carr right now. They can't guard the 2-point. They can't guard the 3-point line. They can't guard around the rim. They can't guard anywhere on the floor, and that is a disaster for a team to go into March Madness and have no defensive identity. For a team to be as veteran-led as they are with Braden Smith and Oscar and all these other guys, to where they can't guard, it screams of maybe not a first round upset, but a first weekend upset where they win the first round, then they get caught in the second round looking ahead to the Sweet 16 because they can't guard anybody.
I'm with you. I didn't have Purdue written down, so I'm glad I didn't steal one, but I'm with you because I feel like it was already like they're kind of low right now and everything. But when you watch that game against Indiana, you go, okay, why on earth am I supposed to think this is a national title level team? Not one guy on the court can stay in front of their man. Braden Smith, he's the best point guard in the country. He's so freaking good. Like, I think he covers up a lot of holes that people don't realize on the offensive end as well. You're getting nothing out of Lawyer. Trey Kaufman-Renn, he's doing his thing on offense, but even then, like, I don't necessarily trust him going against elite front courts or anything. They can't stop the point of attack. I 100% agree with you. I think they are another team that's primed for a Sweet 16 exit, kind of like how they were last year.
Yeah, I'm glad you said it. And Trey Kaufman-Renn, I was drawing blank on his name when I was going through the veteran guys. But again, you have all these veteran. It's a unique situation where they have solid veteran players. They're all very good at what they do on one end of the floor, but they leave a lot of meat on the bone on the defensive end, and that is a disaster. It has Sweet 16 written all over it. Has Sweet 16 written all over it.
There's a funny clip from the Barstool Yak Show, KB on there. He complained, like, this was like a few years ago or something, that they always push out every time Purdue loses, where he's like, look, when you beat Purdue, stop celebrating. It's not an upset. Everybody upsets Purdue. Like, you're not special. Everybody beats Purdue. And it really does feel that, like, whenever you see Purdue lose to, like, UCLA or whatever, or Indiana the other night, it's like, oh, Indiana upsets Purdue. It's like, it doesn't really shock you or anything. Duke loses as a top team, or like when UConn's on top of it, they lose. You're like, oh, wow, like they lost? Really? Or Michigan fall into Wisconsin. You're like, oh, snap. Then when like Purdue loses, you're like, yeah, checks out.
Yeah, that's a great KB clip. And he's spot on for a guy that he hardly watches college basketball. That rant was great because he hit the note perfectly, hit the delivery perfectly. That's why he's one of the best. Because
that and the Justin Herbert clip.
Yeah, and that and the Justin Herbert clip are my favorite clips, and both are KB. But the Purdue one is an all-timer.
Oh man, it cracks me up every single time. Let's move. Let's go to my sell high team, or sell the most, however you want to call it. I've got two. I couldn't really decide between the two, but I'll start here. I'm selling UConn. UConn. Now, it's tough to sell Danny Hurley, how good of a coach he is. You know, probably the best coach of the sport. You can say all that. I just look at this team and I watch their games and I go, there's just not this next level to this team where you hope for. Where what's the true ceiling of this team? They're struggling in all these games against the weakest Power 5 conference in college basketball right now. And look, Solo Ball, he's got the yips right now with his jump shot. Maybe he figures that out. They're going to have him figure that out. I don't necessarily love Silas Demery as a point guard, where I feel like he hasn't been decisive all year, really, at the point guard position, other than a few flashes in certain games. Braylon Mullins' injury obviously hurts them. When he comes back, he's probably their best player, if we're being honest. Him and Terrace Reed. Alex Caravan doesn't really do it for me. I think there is a real ceiling to this UConn team. I think Dan Hurley has done an unbelievable job getting them to this point. I think this is a Dan Hurley masterclass, because I just don't think the talent on this team is all that good. And I felt kind of the same last year, and it kind of feels about the same.
Yeah, I like that pick because, I mean, they were in a rock fight with Seton Hall, who's been pretty solid this year. Sheen Holloway has them playing well, but then a 2-point win against Georgetown, and then OT win against Providence, OT win against Villanova, only beats Providence by 6 at home last game. They're just playing. They're playing with their food, and eventually that food is going to get them. Like, they are playing with their prey, and they're going to get. They need for them to like kind of refocus. They need to lose. I feel like since they are so close to losing, they're kind of getting bailed out to where they are going to lose like in a very important game when it matters going into March. So get that loss or two out of the way and get a classic Dan Hurley presser to where he just scolds the whole earth about how bad his team is when they're going to be like 25-3. And then maybe you can refocus and make a Elite Eight run, because I don't think they're Final Four worthy. Elite Eight's probably their ceiling at best. But I like that pick, Karter, because they have been, I wouldn't say fraudulent, but they've been damn near close of being upset a few times in the last month.
Yeah, and look, once Braylon Mullins is back and everything, this is a different team. I understand that. And you look at like Silas Demery's numbers and everything, you're like 6 assists a game. That looks great. But like when you watch the games, it just doesn't feel fluid and smooth. And I love your point about, okay, they need a loss. Dan Hurley's going to just go into these dudes. Doesn't it just feel perfect that they play at Creighton on Saturday? I mean, we're going to get an all-time presser on Saturday at Creighton, I feel like, when they lose.
I agree. I think Dan Hurley already has the note cards ready.
Yep.
Like, I don't think it's going to come off the top of the dome. He's going to rehearse it in the mirror in the locker room before and after the game, before he goes in the presser, and he's going to nail every delivery and cadence when he just scolds the earth.
And then moving on, this team I don't want to sell as much on because they're just maybe the best bet in the NCAA tournament. But I think that might fall apart this year. I'm going with Gonzaga, where they're struggling in these WCC games, where the national media just sees the record, and I don't think they're staying up late at 1 a.m. on CBS Sports Network watching some of these Gonzaga games, where it's like they're going down to the wire with Seattle. Seattle, fun team, great, like no offense. I mean, they're going down to the wire with San Francisco, like they're not on the same level that you see. Like, I think Illinois is on a different level than even Nebraska. Like, shout out Nebraska ball. I mean, I thought it was more impressive that they were close in that Michigan game without Rink Mass the other night. But besides the point, Gonzaga, once again, feels like there's a hard ceiling there. And, like, Graham Ike, like, I love the production, but it almost feels Hunter Dickinson-ish, where it's like, I love the production, but what does it really give me? Does it feel like it feels like empty stats at times with Ike at times?
I like that pick, Carter. I like that pick a lot. I totally forgot about Gonzaga. Speaking of forgetting about West Coast.
And then you're like, the AP poll comes out on Mondays. You're like, oh, Gonzaga's 9? Gonzaga's 8? Like, they're a top 10 team in the country. And then you go back and watch some of these games. They're like, dude, they're going toe-to-toe with all these WCC teams. Like, it is not a lock that they win the WCC.
Yeah, this is one team I have not watched.
Tournament.
Yeah, I know what you meant. This is like the one team I haven't watched a lot of, and I did not realize they only beat San Francisco last game by 2. And the best team that they played this year was Michigan. They lost by 40 to Michigan, and they beat Kentucky by 1 billion. But that Kentucky team, as we both know, are frauds. Like at the time, it's like, wow, look at Gonzaga. This is a great team. Kentucky, you're in trouble, but as the season went along, it's just like Kentucky, you're awful and overrated. And then you have Gonzaga, who great win at the time, but beat UCLA by 10. San Francisco, as you said, overtime. They had was it OT with Seattle? That was the game.
OT with Seattle, yeah.
Overtime with Seattle. I like that pick. You have 2 good picks, and I'm gonna have to start watching more Gonzaga so I can be on the board with you, be on the same train as you.
It also could just be a terrible pick because I'm going against maybe the 2 best coaches in March in this tournament. I mean, Mark Few, Mark Few's a first weekend merchant. Maybe that's what we need to get that narrative out there, where it's like, hey, he can win the first weekend, but get him in the Sweet 16, things are a little bit different. But let's go on. We had these segments earlier that we were supposed to do, but we'll quickly run through them. I want to touch on Arizona real quick. Undefeated right now. I believe they're 21-0 off the top of my head. All-time team. Are they an all-time team, though? Like, how long can they stay undefeated? The Big 12, I think, is the best conference in college basketball. They have a gauntlet coming up. I don't think they can stay undefeated. But yet, and I also don't feel like they're an all-time team, even though they're 21-0 and have some unbelievable wins.
Yeah, it's hard for me to say all-time team. You're an all-time team based on what you do in March, because that Kentucky team that looked like they were going to go 40-0, that was an all-time team
last year.
Yeah, Duke last year. It's just what you do in March. That's how you solidify if you're an all-time team. But I love this team, this Arizona team, strictly because in a time of where everything's analytics of 2-pointers and 3-pointers, they just do one of the 2, and that's all they do. And they score strictly from 2s. They scored 86 points at BYU. They only made 4 threes. They're 362nd in 3-point attempts per field goal attempt at 27%. So they just beat you the old school way of being physical on defense, physical on offense, and then they get to the rim. They don't shoot threes. They're not going to win games by threes. They made 4 last game, and that's what I like about them the most, is they are just a physical specimen. They get to the rim, and they score at will around there.
Yeah, and they averaged, like, BYU fans were complaining during that game and everything, where it's like, oh, the free throw disparity and everything. It's like, no, because they're just taking constant shots in the paint. They're getting legitimately fouled. Like, sure, they're going to miss a couple calls. Is Tony Padilla the worst ref in college basketball? Sure, I'll hear all that. But it's just they keep attacking you at will. I love the off-ball action Tommy Lloyd runs. It's like, and it's weird because you would think with like a team that's so much, like driven about, all right, twos, maybe slow it down a little bit. They're not. They're one of the higher teams in pace, actually, too. Like, they run a fairly up-tempo offense. It's so impressive with what they've done. Obviously, national title contender and everything. I don't want to take anything away. Do you think that lack of three-point shooting catches up with them in March, or are you like, no, I think this is sustainable by shooting all these twos and free throws?
I definitely think it's something that they can be bitten by in March, to where a team gets a full week to scout them. Like, when you have that gap between the Sweet 16 or Elite Eight to the Final Four, that full week of prep, there's a team that could probably just work around, have a defensive wrinkle to make them really shoot threes, and they're going to have to make them eventually, or at least make, like, when they make four, they have to be key ones. And that's something that they could struggle with. And also their depth of, like, Del Orso has to give them something eventually off the bench as well. I don't know what he did against BYU, but I knew that he was struggling in the last month or so scoring the basketball. And eventually your bench has to give you like a solid 6 minutes in March, to where that carries you when a Jaden Bradley goes 4 of 12 from the field.
Yep. I mean, their guards absolutely cooked BYU, so Del Orso is going to be fine. I mean, Bradley and Braden Berries, I mean, just absolutely destroyed BYU. But I mean, yes. BYU going, they were. I had some problems with that, but I don't want to get too much in the weeds there. So
the thing with the Big 12, they are the best conference in college basketball. But it's so funny that their best teams have like very little depth. Like, BYU has a big three. Yeah, BYU has a big three. Texas Tech has a big three. Houston, like, they have no depth either. I think I can't remember who it was. I think it was Houston and maybe it was Houston and Texas Tech's first matchup. It was 2 bench points to 0. Like,
yeah,
no doubt.
BYU's bench has been awful this season. And when BYU Texas Tech played the other week, it was BYU had 6 bench points, Texas Tech had 0, and Texas Tech won by like 9.
That might have been the game I'm thinking of. And that's what I love, is they have the best teams. They just literally have big threes. That's it. It's the old school Miami Heat, where you have Chris Bosh, LeBron, and Dwayne Wade, and then you're hoping for a Norris Cole come off the bench on occasion.
It's like, please, Shane Battier, find you somewhere. Mike Miller, where are you? So, I mean, obviously we're Duke guys. I'd be remiss if we didn't get to actually talk about the Duke Blue Devils at this point, because they're playing their best ball of the season right now. Scheyer's got these dudes locked in and everything. There's some talk on the field of 68, and shout out our guy Zion Ojede at Duke NBA on Twitter. Everyone knows him if you're a Duke guy and everything. He was in the field of 68 chat the other night, being like, "Man, you guys aren't giving Scheyer enough love." Scheyer, is Scheyer actually underrated?
Yeah, I do think he's underrated, Carter. And I truly mean that. I think he's underrated, and the Duke haters will say it's Duke, anyone can win there. So I got some examples for that. So let's look at some blue bloods the past couple of years. Let's start with, Kentucky. Surely a blue blood that had the highest spending in the portal this past
$22 million. $22 million. It's like Ohio State's football roster.
So surely Kentucky, who is a traditional blue blood, who's a winning program, who spent the most money in the portal, is the most dominant team in college basketball. Wrong. They have 7 losses. Okay, you can say that's a Mark Pope issue. If that's what you wanted to do, the narrative, it's a Mark Pope issue. Okay, then let me go to a Hall of Fame coach who coaches out of blue blood, and Bill Self. They have 5 losses this year with Darren Peterson. One of them, by the way, to Duke. 13 losses last year and 11 the year before. In the last 2 years, Jon Scheyer is 54-5 overall, 27-1 in the ACC. If he doesn't win ACC Coach of the Year this year, he will never win ACC Coach of the Year. And I don't think he'll win it this year. I think Jay Lucas will win it, because he's made Miami into a winning team after being the worst defensive team in the country from Division I, Division II, and Division III last year to being like 16-4, 17-4 now. So Scheyer is very much underrated, and people just pass it off to, well, it's Duke. And it's bullshit. That's frankly just bullshit. The dude wins.
Yeah, and to the Jon Scheyer point too, I try to point to people. So for Duke fans listening to this, I'm not like the biggest Coach K defender in the way of like I think he's an unbelievable coach. I do disagree with some of his antics at times and whatnot. Some of that stuff rubs me the wrong way. But overall, I think he's the greatest coach this sport has ever seen in college basketball, at least. I think he's the greatest coach ever. The fact that because the Duke administration wanted Tommy Amaker, they did. It was going to be Tommy Amaker's job. I think this should add to Coach K's legacy the fact that he's like, no, Jon Scheyer is your guy. Jon Scheyer is who I'm vouching for. Because we see the flip side of that, what Roy Williams did at Carolina. Like, look, Hubert's a fine coach. I don't want to trash on Hubert. I think he's solid. But at the same time, he's not having the same success that Jon Scheyer's having. Yeah, Hubert went to a national title game and whatnot. In maybe the flukiest run we've ever seen in the sport outside of, like, Butler. And even then, I felt like the Butler one was more real than that Carolina team. But I just don't think he gets enough credit for this where, like, you look at this Duke team and they're talented. Obviously, they have NBA guys on this roster. But they don't have one-on-one guys on this roster where it's like, all right, clear out. They're going to go get a bucket. Yeah, Cam Boozer can kind of do that in the post and everything, but you even heard Scheyer in his halftime speech on one of those clips where he's like, guys, we're not a one-on-one team. We have to play team ball and everything, where you have guys like A.J. DeBance at BYU, Darren Peterson at Kansas. Like, those are one-on-one dudes who can just flat out do anything for you. Duke doesn't really have that, and yet they look like the best team in the country right now.
They do, and they've had it's so weird they're 19-1 because they have like glaring inconsistencies on the roster. It's not like last year's roster where I thought it was a perfect roster in terms of like almost everything.
Yeah, let me interject here. If last year's team plays this year's team, what's the line?
6.5 from last year's team.
That's exactly.
I would say.
Like, and this team is having a better record, played a tougher non-con schedule, and yet you're still like, yeah, it doesn't feel like all that complete, yet they're now putting teams away.
Yeah, it's crazy because they're 19-1, the non-con slate that they played, the ACC is better than it was last year too, and it's just the resume is better than last year's team, but last year's team still overall is better than this year's team, if that makes sense. Like it's not. I don't think it's an argument. They just were, and it just shows that the right pieces are falling into place for this team. And Cam Boozer is so good. Like, I don't think he gets talked about enough. Weirdly, like he gets talked about a lot, but I don't think he gets talked about enough about how efficient that he is. He is built in a lab for efficient shooting. It is around the rim and then top of the key threes, and that is something that's just you want to build in a lab for a guy that will play the 4 position at the next level. And his facilitating, his rebounding, everything is great. And it's your underrated coach when you lose. When they lost to Texas Tech, they're like Scheyer has a blown lead problem because the only thing they could allude to was the loss to Houston, which happened 12 games prior, and that was completely different circumstances. As we've seen with Texas Tech, they've come back from double-digit deficits all the time this season. It's more of a Texas Tech thing, the resiliency, than Duke blowing leads. But that's my point with Jon Scheyer is he lost to Texas Tech. Everybody wants to say, oh, Jon Scheyer might not be the guy because he blew a lead to Houston in the Final Four, by the way. And then they just lost their first game in Madison Square Garden by 1 point to Texas Tech. His 5 losses that he's had in the last 2 years, none have been more than 6 points. Duke has not been blown out. He has 5 losses. I think the worst loss was a 6-point loss. It's just he's been fantastic, and yeah, he's so underrated. And people will say, well, he has Duke across his chest. He can win. Well, Hubert, as you alluded to, when national championship year 1, that team was NIT bound until Garcia left the team for COVID reasons, and Manning took all the minutes, and then they hit a switch, and then they've been so Jekyll and Hyde since then. And it's so hard to win and be consistent in this day and age with the transfer portal era. And Scheyer won last year with transfers and this year with retention. And that's just what makes him so good at adapting to what his skill set is.
And adapting to what you have on your team. Like, this isn't the same Duke team. Like, they don't play the exact same way of last year. They don't play the same way as the year before that or the year before that. Like, And that's what I feel like the great coaches do is based on your personnel, just squeezing every ounce of potential out of these dudes. Where I think he's able to do that. Where I can't say the same, especially for a guy like Mark Pope, where Mark Pope all season long at Kentucky. Mark Pope's system is I want to shoot 35 threes a game. I want to run and gun. Let's go. But he recruited a team that is a bunch of athletes that want to get downhill and want to play in points in the paint, mid-range. Like they're not a three-point shooting team. And it's taken them so long to adapt to that, where they just want to force their system. It's like, no, you can have elements of that, but you have to adapt to what you have. And the talent evaluation by this Duke staff too also goes under the radar as well.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up adapting to your players, because this year's team, the shot chart against Louisville was modern day basketball analytic porn, where it was just threes and
then Isaiah Evans mid range.
Yeah, and one Isaiah mid range on an ISO with McNeely. But then you look at last year's team. Cooper Flagg loved to get to the mid range. Con Knipple had a short mid range jumper. Tyrese Proctor would go mid range, and Duke won 35 games because of that. And that's just to let your guys have that free will, but also it's in your system. It just shows you why he's so good at what he does. Yes, he has talent. You win, shockingly, you win with talent. But to really get that talent to reach another level, Scheyer and his staff has done a tremendous job in doing that.
It's fantastic, but we don't have to glaze Jon Scheyer anymore. I want to move on. Let's go. Man, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I really just want to talk about the Hornets, but I do want to get this. Let's do one more college basketball segment before we wrap up here. I texted you this one, the coldest white boys in college basketball, because last year was like the coldest of white boys with Con Knipple, Cooper Flagg, and those guys. This year, I think we got some good ones. I want to hear your top 3 coldest white boys in college basketball.
I mean, I got to start one with Braden Smith. I mean, he is
1-1. Easy.
Yeah. The coldest white boy. My number 2 pick, I watched him up close in person, and I was like, this dude is cold as hell. That's Thomas Houck at Florida.
Okay.
Houck is a dude, and the performance he put on in Cameron, he's so filthy. He's so tough. And my third, who snuck into my third recently because he has been unbelievable his last 5 games, he's scored 20 or more, is Price Sanford at Nebraska. Price Sanford.
Okay.
Has been the game he had against Michigan. I know they lost the game, but I love he's an unorthodox cold white boy. Like you see him walk in the gym, the way he shoots can be a little funky. He's the classic. You play an all white AAU team, you're gonna beat them. We got athletes on our team, and then we lose the game by 15, 20 points because they have 5 Price Sanfords on the team. He's a cold ass white boy, and so I like him a lot.
One of my picks, so I have Braden Smith, obviously. I had Houck on there as well. I just had the Nebraska ball. I just had the entire Nebraska basketball team.
I almost did that. I almost did the same thing of just Nebraska.
BYU played them in like a preseason exhibition game, and Nebraska was picked to finish like 9th in the Big Ten. We're doing like a preview going into the exhibition game for the BYU show. We're like, yeah, this Nebraska team, they'll be good, and whatnot. They're not going to play a lot of ISO ball, but yeah, you watch them play, you're like, they're playing a beautiful brand of basketball. It's like, okay, like maybe Nebraska's got a little something there. Maybe they just got hot in a preseason game, whatever. And then you see this, they play such a fun style of basketball. Like imagine just playing on that roster where it's like everybody's going to touch the ball, everybody's going to get shots up, everybody's moving, playing for each other. It's such a fun brand of basketball. And yeah, I had Nebraska written down as just they are. I mean, they're just a bunch of cold white boys. Like that's just what it is. And then also Bennett Sturts, I had to put in there as well.
Bennett Sturts. That's who number 3 was before I slid Price Sanford in because. And I almost put all of Nebraska, so it's funny that you did that too. And they just have been great. And then like one off the radar one would be Tyler Nickel, because just the way he can hit a shot from anywhere on the court with Tyler Tanner, I like him a lot. And plus he has the tattoos. So when you have a white boy that can shoot threes and he's tatted like that, you're a cold ass white boy.
Yeah, I wanted to put my guy Richie Saunders in there. He could make the final cut, at the postseason awards. Like I could see him in New York at the Heisman ceremony. I mean, if it's like a cold white boy Heisman Award, I guess what city would that be in? Like Omaha, like Provo, Utah, Salt
I was
Lake
gonna
City.
I was gonna say Provo, Utah. Richie Saunders is where he needs to be.
Like, yeah, we're at the award ceremony. I think Richie Saunders gets there by the end. A little too hot and cold, but I mean, yeah, Bennett, Sturts, Houck, and Braden Smith. Honorable mentions. Does Kate Tyson, look?
I don't think so. I think you got to have. He's made a good case for bounce back white boy of the year, but I don't know if he's there for coldest white boy. But he's had a hell of a year.
What about the cat from Butler, Bizjack?
See, I haven't watched much of him, so I can't blindly vote for him. So now I got to watch some synergy when I get off of this show.
Watch a little bit of him. I haven't watched enough to where I was like, I'm gonna fully vouch for him. I want to watch a little bit more Butler as well, but you see, I haven't watched like a full sit down. I'm gonna watch a Butler game this year. I hop in a little bit. I'm like, who is that guy? Like, he's lighting it up right now. That's some film to watch. I don't think I had anybody else. Alex Caravan doesn't make the cut. I'm sorry. He's not even an honorable mention.
No, it was the only list I had was Bennett Sturts and then Tyler Nickel was my wild card. And that's really it. Like, I thought about Blue Kane momentarily because he had a good game against, I think it was Arkansas, but again, he's been inconsistent throughout the year. And I'm really trying to, if it was last year's Duke team, obviously you round off Cooper and Kahn, but I'm not going to put Nick Kamini up there. No offense to Nick. He's not there yet, even though he had a good game last game. But
I think year two Nick is going to be in the running. Yeah,
Alex Condon can sneak his way back in there, but he's been inconsistent this year. So it's just, I need some more consistency out of him to be in the white boy of the year running.
All right. Well, we'll keep these awards going all season long. We might have to get some graphics for it as well. I want to close up here. I'm done with college basketball. Just quickly on the Charlotte Hornets. One, just how freaking fun they are. I want to ask you this. I watched this Hornets team. I was at opening night when they played the Nets, and I'm like, this is a totally different brand of like, just the way they're moving. They are so fun to watch. Can it be consistent? And now that they're healthy, we're seeing this Hornets team actually put it all together at the moment. And you're like, oh, now the national media is catching up. We're like, they're one of the best offenses in the league. They're high in all these efficiency numbers and everything. They're playing such good basketball now that they're healthy. I watch it. I see how weak the East is. If they find themselves in a position with the right matchup, do you think the Hornets could actually win a playoff series?
I don't know if they could win. I would love for them to win a playoff series, Carter, but I don't think I've ever witnessed that ever happen in my life. So I'm going to say no to that, but I say yes, they're going to make the playoffs. I think this team will make the playoffs, but the series, the defense still scares me. But God, that offense is so fun. I mean, they blow teams out. Like they blow good teams out. Yeah, the OKC game will go down as my favorite Charlotte Hornets game in my lifetime. For sure. Like where SGA's playing. When I first looked at that box score and I saw they were up like 30, I'm like, oh, they must be okay. OKC is shutting everybody down. And then I realized, no, that is the Hornets that are shutting everybody down and defensively. And that was a great win. If they won a playoff series this year, oh my God, I would be ecstatic. They've won 4 in a row and 5 out of 6. And the game against Cleveland, they looked horrendous. And they ended up only losing by 7 on national television.
And I'll give the Hornets credit in that game. It was just an off shooting night. Both defenses, when these teams realize it's a nationally televised game, especially a team like the Charlotte Hornets, the level of defense raises in those regular season games. Both teams I thought were playing incredible defense in that game. Shots just weren't falling.
Yeah. I hope to God they can make the playoffs because they're 20-28. They can continue this little hot streak that they're on, and it just shows too. As I alluded to earlier, your best ability is availability, and it's nice to see that the injury bug, knock on some wood, that you're seeing LaMelo, Miller, and Knippel play together because they have such a good record when all three are on the floor together.
Yeah, it's just so fun to watch. There's been so many times over the last few years where it's I've been in and out living in North Carolina and out west and everything. So you either have to have FanDuel, Bally, or NBA League Pass or whatever. And every time I'm around this time, I'm all right, got to cancel my League Pass. All right, got to cancel my FanDuel Sports Network. I'm I'll just catch a stream here and there, maybe every once in a while. And then now it's I have to be paying for FanDuel Sports Network at this point. I have to.
Yeah. Credit and shout out to Bill Simmons for saying in the preseason that the Hornets would be like the sixth. He ranked them sixth as the most fun team to watch on NBA League Pass before the season started, and they've been a great League Pass team to watch.
So I'm assuming you have over 27.5 wins as well, right?
Yes, and we are looking good right now. We are looking good.
Unless they're like they get a backdoor guarantee from Adam Silver. It's like, hey, if you miss the playoffs, we'll give you a top 2 pick in the draft. I think we're looking good.
It is also very funny, as great as the Hornets have been this year, that this is a loaded NBA class. And this is the season the Hornets want to put it together to where they're going to play themselves out of like a really good pick. So that is also very funny.
The problem is and that's the issue too. It's like at first I was like, oh, maybe tank a little bit and go for Cam Boozer, Caleb Wilson, and whatnot. Then I'm also like, okay, let's say they don't end up in the top 4, which is very likely if they were to tank and everything. It's like, okay, I'm not very pumped on Nate Ament being a Hornet. I would be very upset about that. Like, let's go play some meaningful basketball. Let's get guys like Khan, LaMelo, Brandon Miller playing in some meaningful, real games in the playoffs, not just the play-in, but the actual playoffs. I'm all in. Just keep winning games. And there's so many teams that are going to be tanking right now. Like the Hornets are in such a good spot. And it's like if the Bucks they move on from Giannis before the trade deadline, they're another team the Hornets are easily going to jump in everything too. So I think they're in a great spot. I think they can sneaky win a playoff series. Like at least take a team to like 6 where everyone's going to be like, say it's them versus like the nightmare matchup would be the Cavs, obviously, with their front court.
Oh, yeah. The nightmare matchup would 100% be the Cavs. But, I mean, credit to the Hornets for developing Jon Scheyer for what he is. The last 3 games, he's found a piece, and he's a lot better than I gave him credit for. Like, I say a lot better. He's really good at his role.
Yes, and it's funny, too, and I'll close on this. I tweeted out, like, I think it was like a year or so ago, and I was like, oh, like Dalton Connect was playing well for the Lakers. It's like, oh, wow, like we could have had Dalton Connect. Instead, we go for this guy who can't dribble or whatever. And people went after me and whatnot, and I get why. Like, I understand the potential and everything. Every single time Jon Scheyer has like 10 points in a game or like 8 points in a game, I have people hitting up my DMs or hitting up on my mentions being like, oh, did you watch that tonight? Oh, you still wish you had Dalton Connect? And it's like, all right. I may have jumped the gun on that one.
I also wanted Dalton Connect, and I was absolutely devastated when the
coldest
Lakers
of white boys we've seen.
Yes, and when the Lakers rescinded the trade offer because of some BS with Mark Williams back, I was very upset that we didn't get Dalton Connect that year. And now, obviously, everything has looked different. But I mock Jon. Still, when he puts the ball on the floor, it makes me laugh. It looks like a deer learning how to dribble basketball. But catch and shoot and some hard-nosed defense at times, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, like the yakety sax music plays every time he puts the ball on the floor. It's like da 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 da, just every single time. He's like, where is this going? But anyhow, all right. Well, J-Man, thanks for hopping on, man. This was a blast. We got to keep doing this until through college basketball and everything, and then we're going to be doing NBA playoff stuff with the Hornets. So that's what I'm excited about. Make sure to follow at J-Man Takes on Twitter. You're doing a ton of stuff with Sleeper, writing some great articles for Action Network. I've been tailing the picks. I'm going through the mud. Don't worry. We 3-1 last night. Big stuff right there.
3-1 last night, a much needed night after going 1-4 the night prior. But I had 2 units on the one game that I won, Arkansas -3.5 that night, or 2.5. So the action's been great. The picks have been good, and when they haven't, I've had people. Well, one person reach out on my LinkedIn DMs to talk shit to me, and that's fine because I laugh about that because one, as I know we're closing up here, but it's very funny that it's not a burner account on Twitter, that you have no personal information. I have no idea who you are as a burner. LinkedIn literally tells me where you work and what you do for your work. So I was laughing. The guy had a note. The guy, I won't out him because I laughed. I didn't care, but it's just funny. He works at like a consulting firm. I'm like, I see the consulting firm you work for. Why are you coming after me? Like, if I would took it the wrong way, I'd just report you. But I'm not like that because I've been there, done that. I've not done that. I've been there to where I was mad that I held somebody's picks when they lost. It was a bad pick. Hand up, it was a bad pick. I think I had Florida Florida -10 against Auburn, and Auburn beat them outright. And that was the first time since Auburn. That's the first time in 30 years Auburn's won at Florida, by the way. But shout out to that guy. And Sleeper's been great. Action's been great, and it's always great coming on here, Carter. So I appreciate you having me, man.
All right, well, appreciate it, man. Make sure to go follow at KarterKast on everything. Download SeatGeek, use code KarterKast, $20 off your first purchase, $50 minimum purchase required. That's code KarterKast, KarterKast, SeatGeek.com. Create an account, super easy on the SeatGeek mobile app as well. We'll be back. We've got Monday, college basketball show and everything, NFL Super Bowl preview coming out, so make sure to stay tuned for that, and we'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.